Obviously got out to a pretty quick start, less than 2 minutes into the season, and you're into the end zone. How good is that feeling to be able to, yeah, I understand it's one play in a very long season, but to be able to get flowing again, to be able to have that happen again so quickly?
No, it was it's a great feeling. Definitely like a blessing just getting it out that fast. The first play is like you want it to be the most explosive. So, for us and just me and Mike just having that connection and understanding like, if you can't find your read, like I'm right there next to you. And to become like an explosive play like that and for it to become the play that it did, like, I mean, that was a huge energy, momentum setter for the whole season, especially for the offense, but just for the whole team and just seeing the whole team's energy after that it was awesome.
You talk about Mike, and clearly this is a new situation for him coming into a season as the starter. And clearly what we saw from him in game one was somebody who's a lot more comfortable in what he's doing. What kind of potential does this offense have as he continues to grow into this position?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's endless. Like you have, so many great skill positions that are just super effective all over the field. So, just having him, understand that and make him more comfortable in that aspect is like it's super huge for his confidence. It's super huge for how he can trust us as receivers, as running backs, tight ends, like the O line. And I feel with him just becoming more comfortable with us and us becoming more comfortable with him, like the sky's the limit for this offense. I think it's going to be extremely hard to stop. I know week one, like we had our week one hiccup, but I know I'm just super confident in us. Like I know in practice, like we harped that in the bud, and we got right to work. So now it's us just going on week two and performing really well for us as a team and especially for him.
You know a little bit about what it's like to be more comfortable when you come back out for another season. And last year was just an explosion for you after what you did in the first year. And as that was going on and people were paying more attention, there were more eyes on you. Obviously, there was more focus of defense on you. What was that growth process like over the season last year?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in college, my freshman year, I was trying to get the speed of the game, let it slow down for me. So, in year two, the game started slowing down. I started to see different looks before the play even started in the run game, and pass protection. So like, when, I feel like as a running back, you always want to be better the next year than you were the year before. And, for me, like when everything just, slowed down to the pace that I know it is. And, I got to slow the game down for myself. Everything else just took care of itself. And I just got to just use my God-given talents all over that field. But, for me, like that was the main thing last year, and it worked out. So this year, it's completely slowed down for me.
You got a chance to do some offseason work with Christian McCaffrey. What was that like?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. Just the experience like that he's already obviously had. He's a veteran, so learning from him and learning little details, little techniques, just all over the field. Whether it was in the pass game and creating leverage on routes, and then even in the run game, just attacking vertical, not doing all that dancing, just making people miss going forward. Like just learning little stuff like that from him. But it was really good for me, especially in my body. And I think I'm gonna continue to do that as long as we are still playing football, just because it worked out really well for me.
Now you talk about making people miss. Saquon Barkley has called you the best cutter in the game. First of all, high praise right there from a guy who was what he was last year. But what makes you such a good cutter?
I just say it's a gift that God's given me, and obviously just continue to work on leveraging myself against defenders in practice, and I feel like it's just a lot of it is just instinct. I feel people will try to use bags, use trash cans, cones, all types of stuff to work on that ability, but I feel like if you just have a defender on you and he comes out of nowhere and he comes out of different angles all the time, and you make cuts going forward and not going sideways, and maybe making a double move just to get him off his track. I feel like that's how you become a very good football player, or very good at cutting and making people miss. And that's just something I've always done all my life. But it's definitely something that if for me working on it in practice, just using actual players and doing it in live reps.
One of the things that I heard you were working on here into this year was eye discipline. Can you describe for people who don't play in the National Football League what that is?
Yeah. So, eye discipline, you have different reads on different run plays. And, whether it's an outside zone, a duo or gap schemes, or, you always have a read. So, I think eye discipline is bigger than just reading your gaps, reading who your first defender is. I feel like it's moving people off the line of scrimmage, moving blocks off of blocks. And, when I can take a linebacker, you know, going to the left and I want to go right the whole time, you got to use your eye discipline and use your eye mechanics and use your shoulders. And there's so many things that you want to use just to set up your blockers and then make them right. And then, eventually that's when the big plays happen, when I know my eyes are right and I know I'm trying to manipulate guys on the other side of the ball in order to give myself open space for those touchdowns.
Is there anything more frustrating for a guy who has your explosive ability than to hit that first hole, to get through and to know there's more there, and then to have something come up that you don't see that ends up blowing up the possibility of the big play?
Yeah. That always is not a good feeling, because that first read was perfect and you're already reaching the second level, but then somebody comes from somewhere that you didn't see, and just blows the play up. So those plays are very unfortunate, and I hate those, and I try to. That's why you just got to know where everybody's out in the field. And with me, like when I'm before the play even starts, like I'm looking at everybody on the field. I'm seeing where everybody's out on the field, and especially the free hitter, because he's the one that I eventually want to make miss. So just to know where he is before the play even starts, and then creating that leverage, and then just making him miss to get upfield. I mean, that's really the dream play, and that's how it all works out.
When you and I talked last, we talked about you growing up in a game of football. Your grandfather had been a player. He was an official. He would come back from a game that he would do. He'd bring you a program, and we talked about the fact that you'd cut out pictures of the players and you'd lay them out on the football field. Now, Bijan, we talked about that, but I found out after we talked there was more to this. I found out that they got you helmets to put out there to help run the place. I found out that you had a blue card table, and that wasn't good enough for you. You had to draw white lines on it to make it look like a football field.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's man. I'm surprised you know that. A lot of people don't know that. No, I had that blue table. I got it when I was like 4, and I've had it since I was like 11. And no, that blue table was crucial in my life. I drew the whole field on the table. And then I had the helmets and I would set them up. And, back then those helmets were huge, in the store. So I would buy 11 of every team, and I would set them up as a football game. And I would just use my imagination and just move them. And I would hike the ball. I would make all the helmets move, clash on each other. And then, I would just use my imagination to find different plays and run different plays. But no, that was what I did on my free time. I know a lot of people don't know what that is. A lot of kids don't know what that is today. But that was what I was doing.
I'll tell you what, you take a look at how you used to see the field in front of you and things unfolding, and you also were somebody who carried a football around with you from the time that you were really little. I mean,
Yeah.
clearly all of those things, I know it sounds silly right now, you're playing at the highest level there is, but that probably got some vision, some habits, some love for the game that was kind of baked in, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Like, I feel like my vision on the field, I feel like, God sets everything up for a reason. And, I know my parents thought they probably thought I was a little weird kid doing that, or like obsessed, doing stuff like that. But what it helped me out was like, setting up blocks when I was a kid, setting up different angles, when I was trying to get, the best looks. Like ever since I was in Pop Warner, like it all came from like setting up those helmets, setting up those angles, and just making the best runs, the best pass, like best pass catching I can get, because I did it all as a kid on a notepad and on a blue table. It's pretty cool.
Did I see that as of last year, your grandfather, although he retired, was still doing high school games?
Yeah, he was. He just retired this past season, and I mean, for him to do it for 45 years, 46 years, probably like 50 years. it was pretty inspiring. Like seeing him do all that, and now him getting to come here to every game, and all that hard work's been fulfilled. And he saw me grow up, and now he sees me on the NFL field. Like it's a real honor for him to be there.
Bijan, always really enjoy talking to you. Thanks so much for the time. Good luck.
Yeah, man. Yeah, good talking to you as well. Good seeing you again, Scott.
Take care. Be well.
Yep, you too.